Yeah, that's what we like to hear. And speaking on the man Jake Paul, you
Hmm.
landed an interview with him, which is crazy, and congrats on that. And
Thank you.
I know you said the story on the Twitter Spaces, but can you repeat it
Mhm.
here? How did that interview come into play?
Well, Jake and I have had a good relationship for a while. So I was at his debut, his pro debut. I wasn't at the Deji fight, but I was at the pro debut in Miami while I lived in America, and I covered that. And I met him right after he beat Gibb, and we did a little something. And he told me that night that he knew who I was, but I didn't really believe him. I thought he was just being like
Yeah.
polite or whatever. Because I wasn't even like now. I like people. Some people kind of know who I am a little bit, like in the boxing space and all that. At the
Hmm.
time, nobody knew who I was, especially not in America. So I didn't really believe him. But anyway, I was at that fight. That did well. I didn't really do much with the Nate Robinson fight. I did a little bit. I interviewed his coach, BJ Flores, and we kind of stayed in touch then. And then around the Askren fight, we did a couple of things over Zoom, which was good. And it was basically, yeah, I got to mirror fighting. We did something over the phone in August around the Woodley fight. We did little bits on Zoom over the second Woodley fight that was supposed to be the Fury fight. But yeah, in February, I was at Bellator in Dublin, and I interviewed Conor McGregor, and I asked him about possibly fighting Jake, and he said he basically usually he would discard the question and sort of go, yeah, like next question, whatever. Like he doesn't really want to answer it, but
Yeah.
he said, you never know, and never say never, which was a different answer. And then he said something about Jake not really selling many pay-per-views, which was like a good line as a news reporter. You're like, that's a good like headline, like Conor McGregor makes fun of Jake or whatever. But what I had just done a week or two prior was I'd been at the UFC in Houston, and I literally only covered that event because I was in America on holiday, and I thought I saw a cheap flight to Houston, and I thought if I go and cover this for the Mirror, I'll get a free ticket, and it's a cheap flight. I get a free
Yeah.
ticket. I do a little bit of coverage. It'll be cool. So I did a little bit of work, but it really wasn't a work trip. It was a holiday. Um, and at the press conference, I said to Dana, I asked him about the Jake diss track, and that obviously got on Jake's radar, and he found out that I was the one who asked, and so I got a DM the night of the Bellator show, which was a couple of weeks later, and it was basically from Jake, and it was like it said you're the goat, but it was basically like a keep up the good work kind of thing, and he followed me, and
Wow.
the relationship was like it obviously like that made it more like, oh, okay, so he does know who I am then. Oh, I had interviewed him in person a few weeks before that at the Taylor Serrano London press conference, but that was really not that was like a brief thing. You wouldn't recognize anyone or anything, but that whole thing was nuts. And then yeah, so I got an email from his publicist when he was pushing the Taylor Serrano event, and it basically said, yeah, do you want to do something over Zoom? And I had plans to go to New York anyway, so I was like, yeah, of course. So we did a little Zoom thing, and then when I got to New York, we did a couple of things over there. So we did a little sit down in his dressing room after the weigh-ins and all of that. So yeah, the relationship with Jake has always been really good. His manager Nikisa Badarian is
Yeah.
um is one of these guys who, like, if I were a fighter, I would want him to be in charge of my career. Like if I were like a big like if I weren't like Jake's obviously a fighter, but he's also all this other stuff. If I
Hmm.
were like a fighter, a regular fighter, Serrano or Ashton, or even Alex, who's not really like managed by them but has a deal in place with them, an advisory deal, I would want someone like that more than any other manager in the space. Obviously, Audie Attar is a great manager. Tim Simpson, Graham Boylan is great, and a lot of other people as well. Brian Butler, but I would personally, if I were like a really high level fighter, I'd be like, I want Audie Attar, I want Most Valuable Promotions, because he's so clued in on the business side. Like he turned Amanda Serrano from a big-ish name in boxing circles to like a household name,
Yeah.
at least in America and in Ireland at least. So she's infinitely more and like obviously Jake did that too, but I think Nikisa has his experience from working as a CFO in the UFC, so he's a really good person to have around, and obviously himself and Jake and Amanda and her trainer and brother-in-law and manager kind of Jordan Maldonado as well put together a good plan there. But if I were like a high level fighter, and someone were like, you could pick any manager in the world to manage you, I'd probably want Nikisa to be the guy. And so to answer your question, I got it through kind of just knowing Jake's people for a while.
Yeah, fair enough.